Welcome back to the Innovative Experience Podcast, episode 20, and we are back for another episode. Listen, I'm excited. The Innovative Experience Podcast is the untold stories of entrepreneurs, community leaders, and influencers. For all of our listeners that are tuning in for the first time, you know how we do it, Innovation Family. It's another day, another grind. What will you do with your time? Because it either will make you or you make it. Oh, man, I'm excited, man. Listen, everybody, it's just so joyful right now in this place that we're in because, y'all, we're getting ready to launch season 2, and we got to be able to level up and doing what we're doing to the next level. Listen, I have someone to introduce to you all, but before we do anything, I need you to subscribe to the Innovative Experience Podcast family and send it to your auntie, your cousin, your anybody. Just send it to 3 people because today we have a very powerful episode that is in store for you. And I want to introduce to you all our new co-host, y'all. Yeah, I said it, y'all. Our new co-host. Can you believe it? Can you believe it that we are in season 2? We're going into our 20th episode. We're ready to level up. We're starting with our video podcast. And I want to introduce our new co-host to the Innovative Experience Podcast family, Rod Entrepreneur Mason. Let the people know a little bit about yourself, man.
What's happening, world? This Raw Entrepreneur Mason. I'm excited to be a part of this podcast, but I can't help myself. But I just got to do that. I know it's not Monday, but I mean, I do this. It just does something to me. So I just want to bring it from the top one time. Can y'all just help me bring it from the top? This is the day, Motivational Monday. It's just something about it. It just getting me going, and I know my listeners out there that want to take heed to what I be saying. They love to hear me say it too, so I'm excited. But I'm the founder of Morning Vitamin Motivations, and this is the day. And I got started because I want to make a difference. I want to make a change. I have went through struggles in my life, and I saw, hey, I'm not the only one going through, so I turned what I'm going into motivation. So why can't I do it for others? And that's how I pretty much got started. And ever since then, I've just been motivating.
Yeah, man, it's crazy the way we met. Like, I was on Facebook. Family, we get into our topic soon, but I was on Facebook, and one of my mutual friends, he actually had posted a video of you, and I was like,
okay.
Man, this dude has some energy, man.
Yeah.
Very charismatic, so I was like, let me click his page, and I clicked your page, and I was looking at your videos, and I was like, yeah, man, this dude definitely it has it, man. And from there, you reached out to me, and we were able to connect, and, we did lunch, and, man, it's crazy to think, like, we're here, man. We're actually here right now, Innovative Experience Podcast family. I'm excited about what's in store for us for season 2. So listen.
Season 2.
I'm not going to let's get to our topic for all of our listeners. So today's topic, right, is follow your dreams. I want to let that marinate just a little bit. Follow your dreams. You know how we do it. We always have to start off, and I'm going to let Mr. Entrepreneur Mason today kind of start off, what does that mean to you before we dive in a little bit deeper for our podcast today? Because, we always want to leave you with something. We always want to challenge you to take steps, and we always want to do everything that we can to improve your mindset, to improve your courage, your faith, to help you do something different to get to the next level of your life. So let's slow it back down. So follow your dream. So when we came up with this opportunity to talk about this, what does that mean to you, man? Like, following your dreams and your own words.
Well, to me, follow your dreams mean you got to decide. You got to decide what you want to do, and at that point, you got to throw your whole self at it. You got to get immersed in the process of following your dreams. So, go after what you desire to have, what you believe that God's telling you to do in the world. So that means you make a decision and you just go after it with everything in you. That's what it means to me.
So what would you say? Because I know for myself, man, sometimes it could be scary. Like, sometimes it could be risky. Like, for me, like, I was the first person in my family, like, to even do something different. Like, no one helped. I was the first person in my family to start what I'm doing in the nonprofit business. And when you're doing something for the first time, it's extremely fearful. So for a person that's listening to this podcast today, where is the starting point? Like, okay, I have an idea. I have something that God has placed on my heart. But where do I start? What does that look like for me? What is the steps that I can take from the beginning? From your experience and your journey, I want you to share a little bit of how you got into doing what you're doing, right? How did you get into knowing that motivation and inspiring people was a calling that God gave in your life? Was that something that just came over you? Was that something that you made a decision? You talked about deciding to start. So what was the starting point, right, for you, for our listeners?
For me, I was doing it the whole time and not knowing I was doing it, you know, because I'm a very compassionate person. You know, I like to help people,
right,
you know,
right.
with anything, whether it's moving furniture or anything that I can do, you know, to help. I like to help. But not only in that, many times I saw people navigating towards me with problems.
Yeah.
They knew I was in the church and different things like that. So most people sometimes feel like since you're in the church, you should have something good to say. You know, but we all have our battles, we all have our problems, right. But it's just the difference between the person who's in God and who's not in God. It's just you got somebody to take your problems to.
right,
so, but I always found myself, you know, giving encouragement to people who was in need, you know, and I would always say, okay, Lord, what can I say to help this person?
Right.
And then, but not consciously thinking about, hey, you know, I do this all the time. But it was just a part of me. Right. It wasn't like I was trying to do it. It was just something that came naturally. So, but for me, when I first got started, it just like the step that I took, I found other people that was already doing what I wanted to do. And I started trying to see how they went about and how they would deliver their messages or, you know, different things like that. So first step, you have to find someone doing what you're doing and then just be a student.
Right.
You know, I mean, whether it's looking at videos or taking classes or taking courses, but those are the ways you can get started. Because like you said, it can be fearful. I mean, as a matter of fact, for a lot of them, it will be fearful for a lot of us. Right. But that's not for you to be afraid. It's just for you to say, okay, courage is continuing the course of action. No matter the obstacle or the fear that you may feel on the inside, you still got to go forward. That's courage. So at that moment, you can expose courage on your behalf to continue to go forward. So it's nothing to be afraid of, even though you will feel that, but take those steps. You know, you got to research it, be a student first, because it's going to happen over time. It's a process. That's the part we got to fall in love. We got to fall in love with the process, not the destination. Ooh. So that's how it started with me.
Fall in love with the process and not the destination. Listen. You got to understand something. Like, you only can go as far as the people that you follow. Like, everything that you want in life, there is nothing new under the sun. Once you make that decision to decide and you have a model, you've got to be willing to do the things that no one else can do. And you must be willing to ask the questions that no one else will ask. Now, listen, we understand that you have to take a step of faith. What is faith? Believe in the unseen. If we want to get more spiritual, faith is what? The substance of things hoped for, but the evidence of things not seen. So even though I have this idea, I have this dream, I have something that's not been manifested yet, but that feeling that comes over you, that's calling. That's that idea. That's that uniqueness that you have about yourself. So in order for you to be able to activate what's already in you, you have to make a decision to act. And I'm telling you, I mean, I deal with a lot of young people, man. And one of the most things is the fear of the unknown and the imposter syndrome. Like, you start making yourself feel like that I'm not capable of doing anything that's in front of me immediately. So I tell people, like, you have to surround yourself with elevators and not dreams. Let me break this down. Let me look at my camera right here. You have to surround yourself with elevators and not dreams. I want to break that down. So you got to understand something. That anytime you make a decision to do something different and you on the first floor of the elevator, that first room, it is crowded.
Yes.
Because everybody is thinking just like you. But you got to realize something. When you make a decision to do something different, no one's going to follow you. I was just telling Rod just a minute ago that when you make a decision to go after what you want and what God has called you to do, that vision, that dream that in place, once you get on that new road, this is a clear road. This road is raggedy. This road, it looks mind confusing, man. Very. There's no signs on this road. There's no left. There's no right. There's no yield. It is literally a blank road. And as soon as you stand your feet on this road and you start to make the steps, the more you move is the more God will move on your behalf.
Yes.
There's people already in place, right? There's doors that's already open, but everything depends on you taking a step. So listen, you got to realize something. And I said this in other podcasts before, that fear is like a thick illusion of smoke that can spread in your mind like a wildfire. So you got to realize something here. The more you connect to people who have no intentions to grow, the thicker that smoke of fear can spread. It's an illusion, right? The smoke can become so toxic that it'll drift you away from wanting to step. Everything that you want to do in your life takes a desire for you to step and make an action. So with that being said, going off of the process, listen, so from day one, for a person who has something inside of them, what would you say, what type of environments, right? Let's talk about the environment. Does a person need to get in order to start the process of building and following their dream?
Well, you have to be in an environment that's positive. You have to be in an environment that, that feeds you. Because if you don't be in an environment that feeds you, then it can really hurt your dream. So you got to get rid of the negativity. Yeah. But before I finish talking about that, I do want to say something about fear, because it has a lot to do with the environment, because you don't want to be around a bunch of fearful people who are afraid to step out on faith or afraid to go after their dreams. Because fear, one or two things you have to know about fear is that fear is self-imposed. They mean you create it and you can destroy it too. It's an intangible. And a lot of people, it's fear of failure. I mean, you hear it all the time. What if I try and don't make it? Then it's fear of success. What if I make it and I can't keep it? So, I mean, it's different types of fears and different levels of fears, but you don't have to fear. You don't have to fear fear itself, because it's in your mind.
Right.
So, but when you build up courage, then that pushes you out of that fear. That means I may be scared, but I'm still going to go anyway.
Yes, sir.
Because I got a calling in my life. I got to do this.
Right.
Someone's depending on me.
Right.
But as far as the environment, you have to get into an environment that's conducive to what you're carrying.
Right.
Because you could take an oak tree seed and put it in like a 2-foot pot. That oak tree seed won't be able to be the oak tree that it's capable of being because of the environment that it's in. Ain't nothing wrong with the seed. It just fell prey to the environment.
Oh, wow.
So the environment that you're in, it has a lot to do with your growth. My question to everyone is, what environment are you in that's stopping you from being the oak tree that you're created to be? You got to choose the right environment, because we all have that seed. We all have that gift. We all have that greatness on the inside of us. Yeah. But it's the people that we surround ourselves with. You have to get away from the people who's hating on you. You got to get away from the people who don't believe in you. You got to get away from those family members that don't even want to go after a dream. You got to get away from them. Yeah. You got to get away from them.
That's good, man. Listen, the company that you keep will determine the level that you will reach.
Yes.
Like, the environment is everything. Like, once you make that decision, like, to go after what you want, like what you just said, you've got to surround yourself with that tribe. Like, my dad used to tell me this. It's this funny story that my dad used to tell me, right? So, and I really didn't understand it, like, when I was younger. Like, what is he talking about, a turtle? He's like, son, you can really learn from a turtle. And I'm like, what? A turtle? Like, what do you mean? So this is the story, right? So my dad used to always say, son, if you ever seen a turtle get on a fence pole, just know it didn't do it by itself. I said, what? A turtle on a fence pole? What does that have to do with everything? But the older you get and you go through experiences and you go through exposure, it makes perfect sense. See, the habitat and the environment of a turtle is on ground, right? So that is the nature, right? That is the capability of a turtle. But a turtle would never see heights of a fence pole if it did not have help. So what I'm saying is that anything that you want out of life, you cannot do it by yourself. It is the power of we. Yes. There is going to be that one person in your life that is going to put you in position. But the question that I want to ask our listeners, are you ready for help? Because in order to be able to receive help, there has to be some level of work, right? Yes. There has to be some level of work. And once you have been consistent in one thing for a long time, there are people along your road that God has already ordained since you came out of the womb that is ready to put you on that fence pole. The power, like I just said, the power of we, right? Most people, like Christoph says to my brother, most people want a version of life that they're not willing to fight for, right? Everybody wants what it looks like, yes. But are you willing to go through what it feels like? That's that process. That's what hurts. That's the thing that makes people walk against you. I'm gonna tell you this, right? That is that jealousy, right? Sometimes that's a part of the process. We so get caught up on the end result, but we don't think about the process. Sometimes the process can take 10 years, yes. Right? Sometimes it can take 11 years. Sometimes you're gonna go through pain, right? Yes. But at the end of the day, are you gonna be willing to go after what you want? So goes back to the story of my dad about the turtle. Like, listen, there's someone in your life right now that has already been destined to help you. But the only way to receive that help is you have to act out on faith. Yes. You've got to do the things that no one else would do and ask that question, even when it doesn't even seem possible. Faith will open doors, all right, for our listeners. So as we transition a little bit on, what is 2 steps? I'm gonna say 2, all right? What is 2 steps that you can give a person that's listening to this podcast right now of what they can do at the beginning stages of following their dream? Any 2 steps, any two lessons that you can give somebody, what would it be?
My 2 lessons that I started out with that I would give to the listeners right now is that, first, decide what you want to do, and 2, study it. Because when you decide what you want to do and then you study it, then after you study some of it and research it, then you will have a plan for step 3, step 4, step 5. You can't just go out there and just go wild. Yeah. Because it's going to just be what? Wild. Right. You want to have some kind of structure to what you're doing. So I would encourage everyone to just decide what you want to do, then find out someone who's doing it and study. At that point, then you'll start developing the necessary steps after that to go after what you're trying to seek after.
That's good stuff, man. I was listening to, I don't know if anybody follows Mr. Crowell. He's like this financial guru, like, right? He does a lot of things with Business Critic and entrepreneurship and things of that nature. And he said something, man. I was listening to this webinar. He said something that I got to take that. He said that a smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from others. Right.
That's good.
Right. So what does that mean? Like, I know a lot of y'all out there that's listening to this, you're chasing your own path and you're chasing own things and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, the one thing that you need to chase is wisdom.
Yes.
Because totally if you chase wisdom, she'll promote you.
Yes.
Like, wisdom is in the lives and the hearts of others, like you just said, man, that have already walk that path. That is where the research goes. So yes. To add to what you're saying already, you have to run your research.
Yes.
You have to study the craft. Like, and a lot of times, let me tell you a missed art of research that a lot of people, especially young people, don't look at, right? Books. Reading, right? Because reading stimulates your mindset. That mindset stimulates an action. That action stimulates faith. That faith stimulates courage. And when you have enough courage to understand what you already have in you, then you must take a step. Listen, readers are leaders. My dad used to tell me that all the time, man. I was like, what? What do you mean? At the end of the day, wisdom is in books. But like they always say, if you don't want to see growth or challenge someone to do something, put it in a book. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, run your research. Once you run that research, kind of adding to what Mason is saying, the next thing you have to do, let me say this, you got to find a mentor. You got to find a purpose tribe. You've got to find something and somebody to follow. You can't do this by yourself. And let me just say this too. Accountability will save your life. Yes. When you have someone that can hold you accountable, that puts that pressure on you to get things done, something in you, it ignites you to stay consistent. So that is just to add on what you're saying. Like everything that you're saying, you could do it. So for the people that are listening, we're finna get ready to wrap this up. To this short snippet today of this podcast, what I'm gonna let Mr. Mason, I want you to give him some encouraging words right now. Any advice for a person that's broken, that's frustrated, that cries at night, right? That is comparing their lifestyle to someone else every day that they wake up. I want you, Mr. Mason, right now to encourage them in your own way. I want to give you just give you the floor right now, man. What words of advice or of encouragement can you say to someone that is on the last limb right now?
What I can say is that don't give up. You still can do what you were set out to do. Stop comparing yourself to other people because it's not fair. Because you and the person you're comparing yourself to did not start out at the same level with their same exact things. And that's where we mess up sometimes when we compare ourselves, because we didn't start out with the same everything. Some people started out here and you may have started out here, but you can't, that's not fair comparison. Yeah. I have to start out with everything you started out with, and then from that spot, then you can be judged on the results. Yes, but it's not fair. So we set ourselves up for failure when we compare ourselves to other people because we didn't have the same starting point. So stop comparing yourself to people. Hold your head up. You can do it. Like he said before, you have to participate in your own rescue. I can throw you the life rafter, but you got to grab it. I can't make you grab it. Wow. So you can do it. Don't give up. Stay positive. I know you may feel down, but keep telling yourself that I can do this. I was born for this. I was made for this, because we all have that gift on the inside of us. We all have that measure of faith, and allow that faith that you have to build you up, and you can be what you desire to be.
Yes, sir. Listen, man, it's really nothing to add to what that. The only thing I will say, too, for a person that is at that step, at that jumping place, you've got to marry the vision.
Yes.
But date the journey. Let me break that down, right? So when you marry something, you're with it until death do you part. Listen, don't give up on anything that you've been doing. I don't care if it's 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. You have to be with it, because at the end of the day, God has to develop you before he can promote you. I understand that the journey is going to change. The process is going to change. Adversity is going to happen in your life, in any season. Anytime you make a decision to do something different, it is going to be the most thing, because most of the time you got to walk away from people that have loved you. You got to do something different. So that is why you've got to adapt daily. That's what date the process means, right? When you're dating something, like you may be with a person for a short time and something else, you can just keep dating. Like that's going to change. You got to be able to adapt. But at the end of the day, you marry that vision. You don't put down that pen. Yes. Once you start something, finish. Right? Because why? How you start would never determine how you finish. So y'all remember that, right? Today was a short podcast, and hey, it's another podcast.
Yes.
It's another episode of the Innovative Experience Podcast. Listen, like, hey, man, I'm excited about season 2. About what we finna get ready to do. Yes, now listen, if you enjoyed this, like I said, I need you to send this to someone that you know that is doing everything they can right now to follow their dream, right? If they're needing some reinforcement, some self-improvement steps of like what we did today, send it to them. And like we always end all of our podcasts, Mr. Mason, you got anything you want to end with?
No, I'm just excited, man. I mean, it's going to get better from here. I mean, I'm excited for everyone who's listening that stay tuned, get others involved, because your life is going to change.
Most definitely. And like we in every podcast, I'll see you at the top, because the bottom is too crowded. It's another episode of the Innovative Experience Podcast.